Well, hey everybody, it's Robert Barber with Pinellas Live, your digital mayor, and we are here for episode 101. And I'm extremely excited because I'm actually back at the Maureen, I'm back at the Art Center, and I'm here with Maureen Mcdole from Keep St. Pete Lit. She is the executive director and the founder of this organization. And in episode 100, I got a little sneak peek of what the execution of that looks like. And my co-host with me today, Tara Quillhurst,
Hello.
says, you've got to meet the executive director because she is amazing. She is a force to be reckoned with. And we've got to get her on this show because she's going to fire up some people. And we need to do this episode.
Yes.
So,
woo!
Anyway, Tara, thanks for being here.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm just sitting along for the ride today because I'm kind of a geek when it comes to books and a geek when it comes to St. Pete. So this combines all my geekdom into one. So I'm just here to listen and watch. So I'll shut up.
So that's great. So, hey, Maureen, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, you know, it's been exciting for me because honestly, before Tara introduced me to the writing class that I attended this past Saturday, I am embarrassed to say I knew nothing about this.
I'm really excited when I hear that because now you know about it.
And so now I know about
Yeah.
it. And so that's what made me say,
Yeah.
okay, well, we've got to do more because this is
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you.
And we got to get the word out, right? So, so anyway, we always like to start our show. We're a 5 to 7 minute daily vlog, web show, whatever you want to call it, where we like to celebrate the life that is Pinellas, and that's why it's called Pinellas Live. So we always like to kind of start off with of our 3 segments is getting to know our guests. So Maureen, tell us a little bit about you.
I'm a Florida native.
Okay.
So is my mother. My grandmother came here when she was 11. So I'm a multi-generational Florida family. I grew up in a fisherman family. We still actually have fishing boats and a seafood restaurant in Johns Pass, Florida. Yes. So
Wow,
I
that's
come
awesome.
from this, I call it the saltine roots. We're not Florida crackers, we're saltines.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. So, and I'm also a poet and a mother, and I just love reading and writing.
Uh-huh.
So I really started Keep St. Pete Lit because I believe wholeheartedly in the power of literature to change the world.
Wow,
So, how's that?
that's humbling.
It changed my life.
Yeah.
So that's how.
Wow.
I did grow up in this very large family. There was 33 of us, but unfortunately, a lot of substance abuse and dysfunction and things that can happen in families. And I'm the oldest of 4 children, and the way that I processed my emotions and dealt with my family environment was through reading, was the way to kind of escape
Right.
that experience, and writing was the way that I processed my emotions. So that led into poetry, and also, I mean, you travel the world
Sure.
reading, and I believe that readers are leaders. It helps you with innovative thinking, empathy. It kind of is, it's the gateway drug to everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so.
pretty amazing. Yeah. To hear that, readers are leaders.
Readers are leaders.
Write that down.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, well, that's good. Well, that's awesome. So I guess that kind of leads us into your love for Pinellas because
Yeah.
you've been here,
Yeah.
right? And so it's a part of who you are.
Yeah.
So instead of me putting those words into your mouth, why did you start the organization? Why in Pinellas? I mean, you could have went to San Francisco, Chicago. You could have went to Dallas. You could have went anywhere,
Yeah.
right? And carried that passion with you. So why here and why now? And
Well, as I said, I grew up in a fisherman family, but that was primarily the beaches of Pinellas County, which is very different than downtown St. Pete. But I also grew up in the punk rock scene here, and so we'd come to St. Pete and go to Janice and Channel Zero and see punk rock bands, and grew up in that kind of do-it-yourself movement where bands were putting out their own albums, doing their own merch, all those grassroots elements, and also having creative freedom.
Yeah.
So when it came time, I spent 8 years in Asheville, North Carolina, actually studying pottery, but I don't really understand color. So and I didn't want to be a production potter, but I really learned, about art making and what goes into running a business with that. And I came back here in 2002 because my parents were getting older, and this is a wonderful place to live. I miss the water. I missed the sunshine.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was writing poetry and performing at open mics around town, but there wasn't a larger literary dialogue going on in the city. The art scene here, we had the Morean Art Center, we had the Museum of Fine Arts, but
Right.
there wasn't a larger reality going on. And then around 2015, the local movement picked up thanks to Olga Boff with Keep St. Pete Local, and all of a sudden the St. Pete Art Alliance was founded, the Warehouse Arts District. So it was like this nexus of art realities, but they were constantly saying like, we're a city of the visual and the performing arts, and I'm like, and the literary arts.
Yeah.
Because you can't have a strong arts community without a strong literary component, as far as I'm concerned. And I wasn't getting my needs met as a reader and writer here. And so it kind of grew from there as a grassroots movement. We partnered with the Friends of the Jack Kerouac House on a citywide reading of Jack Kerouac's book On the Road. That was our first event. And it was just, trying to figure out what it meant to run a nonprofit, how to do it sustainable. And I had absolutely no nonprofit background. I was a poet and a mother before this. So the two most important vocations in the world, but the least honored, honestly,
Gotcha.
right? Poetry and being a mother. So, but actually being a poet works for running a nonprofit because I have this really visionary mind.
Sure.
But I immediately go, what's the most effective and efficient way to create this reality? So that works with, the management side of the left brain and then the visionary side of the right brain.
Gotcha. So if you and I were just to, meet and we're both sitting here waiting for the bus stop and we strike up a conversation and you're like, I do this thing, Keep St. Pete Lit.
Yeah.
Explain that to me as the bus is pulling up.
Okay. Keep St. Pete Lit. We have low-cost writing classes here at the Moreland Arts Center. We've been here 3 years.
Really low cost, like really low cost.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we wanted to make literature accessible to all.
Okay.
We are the book club at the Museum of Fine Arts. We have creative writing summer camps for low-income students at the Moreland Center for Clay. We do a 2-week literary festival in April called the Sunlit Festival. We have literary salons, poetry open mics, all kinds of events. Kind of the one-stop literary shop.
Gotcha.
If you're a reader and writer and you want your needs met, come to us, and then we can help you filter to other things that are going on in the community.
Gotcha. That's awesome. That's really cool. So
Yeah.
I hope you guys are getting a lot out of this because I know that I am. And I had the opportunity to actually do some writing last year, and it was tremendously therapeutic for me. And that's one of the reasons why I did it, is because it was suggested to me to go ahead and start writing, and just whatever comes to you, just run with that. And it was tremendously helpful for me last year. And,
journal writing is very powerful.
And running a bit. I don't care whether you're a CEO. No matter whatever you do, writing and being able to put your thoughts down on paper and learning that process, I think that's amazing. I love what you're doing.
And it clarifies things for you. What were you going to say?
I was going to say the thing that was really attractive to me about the classes, and I love all the things we do at Keep St. Pete Lit, but I started with the classes. I found them online, and I had started a blog and didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't a writer. I was a theater director. I just was writing for therapeutic reasons as well, because I was going through the adoption process and wanted to kind of get all of my emotions on paper while I was going through that process. So I saw the class online and I thought, what the heck? Like, I'm gonna go and try to take it. And the really attractive thing to me is that anyone can take the class and you don't have to have any experience. You don't have to walk in the door having been published. You don't have to walk in the door even being good at grammar. It's so welcoming.
Yeah.
It's such a humbling place to be, because there are people in the class that have published books, and there are people in the class that walk in and say, I've never written anything, but I want to give it a try. And everyone is equal. Everyone is equally accepted, and there's no judgment. Genuinely no judgment. You experienced that.
Yeah, this is exactly, a credit to you, a credit to Bob too. And talking to him about it was that I sat in this classroom for 2 hours of people of different ranges of where they were in the spectrum of their skills and abilities and everything else. And people shared their work, and there was no judgment.
Yeah.
The feeling in the room was like, this is so cool. This is such a safe place where people really care about each other and want to help each other.
Yeah.
And where do you find that in today's world? You don't normally get that. You get so much, beat down, and people trying to hold you back. But what you have going here is amazing. It's
Well,
awesome.
thank you.
Yeah.
And that's when you read a book, that's what you get. You don't get judgment. You get to
Right.
have an experience and come to your own conclusions about things and
Mhm.
expand your mind and open your heart. And it's a very personal thing being creative. And if you can right out of the gate have the wrong teacher that can stop you in your tracks, and that's the last thing that we want. We want to help people be their best selves creatively, and that's why we started the school, because I wanted. I'm a lifelong learner, and I knew a lot of creative writing teachers. So let's put a school together and curate classes. And even the Morean, they're like, well, let's give it to summer. Let's see if it works. And we're 3 years down, and we actually have a person teaching this week that's a New York Times, LA Times best-selling writer that's thinking of moving here. People are coming and want to be a part of this creative community and want to teach with us and want to give us service. And
That's so cool.
so to me, I'm like you. I'm like a fangirl. I'm like a geek as a reader and writer to even be a part of this experience
and
too. And this is my job.
To have a class that it's a drop-in class.
Yeah.
So you don't have to sign up and take
homework.
it for 6 weeks. There's no homework.
Yeah.
During the school year, because I'm a teacher, I often don't take it as much as I do over the summer, and nobody cares.
Yeah. We'll miss you.
They miss me. They care. But no one's like knocking on my door. They come to class. So it's nice that you can say, oh, I have this Saturday free. I'm going to drop in a writing class and get all this wisdom and inspiration and leave.
Yeah.
And you're not only are you a better writer, but you are a better person ultimately because you have that week after week,
And it's affordable, and it creates
$10.
community.
Yeah.
And it creates community. Like, writing is an isolatory profession, so you want to have a community. You want to have people that you can talk to and be around. So that's what it's all about.
Well, we're, I'm sure, over our 5 to 7 minutes, but it was well worth it. So thanks for hanging in there with us today here at Pinellas Live. We always like to, wind up our show with our guests by asking for some wisdom.
Okay.
So we want some Maureen wisdom.
Oh, goodness.
So I don't know, hit us with it.
One of my favorite mottos is by Katharine Hepburn: if you always do what interests you, at least one person is pleased. And that's actually gotten me through a lot of the dark night of the soul. If you intuitively know that something's right, even though every single person around you is saying it's wrong, listen to your gut. And also, if you're interested in some topic, read as much as possible, study as much as possible, just drown yourself in information, but then take time away and pick what works for you. You need to find your own path and your own route. Yeah. And if you are a creative person, please express it, because there's only one you, and only one you is going to express your creativity in the specific way that you do. And if you don't do it, the world won't have it.
That's exactly right. I'm a big proponent of that, is that, statistically speaking, there's been 108 billion of us that have been born over time, and we're all individuals.
We're all individuals.
And so, there's a reason for that, and you have a story to tell. And if you leave it in here and don't ever express it in any way, shape, or form, whatever that is, whether that be in a character or in a movie, in art, or whatever it is, the world is not as great as a place as it could have been.
And who knows who will be changed and healed through your story too.
Huge.
Yeah.
So, be the change you wish to see in the world.
Yeah.
Awesome wisdom from our guest today. Tara, thank you for being here.
Thanks
We
for
really
having me.
appreciate it. And Ms. Maureen, thank you for following
Thank
your
you.
passion. And we love what you're doing. So we're going to link up all the information down below so you can get connected with the organization, as well as find out more on just maybe about some of the classes. But more importantly, there's going to be some comments down here that are basically going to kick you in the butt and tell you to get off it and go do it. And
thank you to the Morean Art Center for
Yeah,
providing a
of course.
venue for our writing classes in our community. Thank you so much.
It's super great. All right, so we always like to end our show by saying that you are loved, because we always like to make sure that at least once a day that you hear that you are loved, because that is so important. And everybody sitting at this table loves you. Go out there and just like Maureen said, be the change you want to see. But that's episode 101 for Pinellas Live. We are sponsored by the Moeller&Barber Real Estate Team, and that's it.
Yay!
All right. Thanks,
Read
guys.
it right on. Read and right on.
Read and
Read it right on. We'll see you.
Yes.
See you at the next one.
That was great.